Go. Hello and welcome to the live Ion Media coverage of Season 3, Round 5 of the F2 Championship. Today you are joining us here live from Great Britain, where I'm joined by Project User and Lion Guy. How are you guys doing ahead of the two races which we have lined up for us today?
Good. I'm doing well. Seems like it was a very interesting quality session that we missed, sadly.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. We were unfortunately having some issues with the leaderboards and etc., but hopefully that should all be fixed now. Fingers crossed anyway. So we'll try to get that information across to you now. And there you can see, that is our qualifying order at the moment as we speak. Noah Gamer takes pole position, followed by Boat Crafter and Prime Drifter. Then JX follows by Fexalan in that Vexala rounds off the top 5. SRX School followed by Love My Jordy, followed by Loosebot driving the Tarun. GP tops off the top 8, and then Officer and Hawk rounds off those top 10 positions as we wait for the directors to get the race started.
Let's get our intro underway while we're waiting. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Round 5 of the Formula 2 Championship, and welcome to Britain. We are racing at Lansdowne International Airport, which has provided exciting racing before, and we hope to see exciting racing again today. A few facts about Great Britain: is home to the longest town name in the world, a name I'm not prepared to embarrass myself by trying to pronounce. And the first speed ticket was issued in Great Britain back in 1896 when Walter Arnold went 6 miles per hour over the 2 miles per hour speed limit. The track then, a long technical street circuit like track, gives us long sweeping corners that flow one after the other for most of the track. There's 12 corners, 6 to the left and 6 to the right, all with unique and challenging profiles, and there's no elevation today, but it shouldn't matter too much as we can still expect exciting racing. There's the DRS zones, 2 of them, both on the longest straights and leading into tight, complex corners. Joining me today is Despicable Devil and Lion Guy.
Yes, hello. So, as Project User has just stated, no elevation changes for today in comparison to some of the tracks we've seen previously. But it is quite an interesting circuit, obviously being based on an airport. Provides quite a wide variety. I would say it's quite fast in my opinion. Do you think there's anything notable about this track which the drivers will need to be watching out for today?
The curbs are definitely one of the most interesting part about this track, to say the least. The curbs on this track are block made, unlike most other circuits, so they have a very sharp end on the back, so drivers definitely need to watch out for those, and the very tough anti-CCs on this track that are very large going into turn 1 and other places along the track.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go ahead and take a look over to the track where the drivers are lined up on the grid, ready to go for the first of the 2 races today. The sprint race, half the length.
Yep, we're going to be seeing an 11-lap sprint race as the lights are going on. And we're lights out, as it seems like Noah had a good start there.
Yeah, it looks like he did have a good start indeed. Hard to tell as all the drivers are bunching in through these first few corners. Very winding, hard to navigate. If you get it slightly wrong, you can end up on one of those sausage curves. Looks like Noah is currently leading the pack, followed by Prime Drifter, followed by JX Miriam in P3. Boat Crafter also in that front pack, obviously starting from P2. You see what he can do today. Looks like a big mix. And that's, is that Boat Crafter spinning off to the right there? Not sure if it was, definitely one of the fleet cars. Didn't quite get a nice exit there, lost the rear and nearly crashed into the barrier. As we head into the next heavy braking zone, Prime Drifter and Noah Gamer fighting it out. Who's going to get the better exit? Looks like Noah Gamer has. They go into that tight left-hander, flicking it back into a right-hander. My graphic is saying Noah Gamer is in the lead at the moment. Visually, it's saying differently. Prime Drifter and Noah Gamer really fighting out on this front lap. 0.195 seconds separate the two. As we go into the second heavy braking zone of this track. Noah Gamer looks to be leading in. He's on 2 purple sectors. Obviously leading at the moment with the fastest times and position-wise. The pack following behind him.
Yeah, just some notable stuff. We have Hawkbase, who was a GT3 main for Meme Racing that is now racing in F2 on his debut. He's up to P4. I believe he had a good quali, but he is higher up now. So it definitely seems like we have a smaller field today, led all the way at the back by Rap God, one of the drivers who's recently unbanned from Ion, who got a podium last season in F2. I believe around France or here.
Yeah, I remember Kaikara being a avid supporter of Rap God as we enter and continue our way through the second lap now. Hawk maintaining the fastest lap. He's down in P6. He's about just over a second behind our leader. At the moment, we're being told is Noah Gamer. Prime Drifter follows closely behind him, batting out for that lead. Leaderboard is now saying 700ths of a second separate the two. Jake's Miriam is just over half a second behind that front 2 pack. Are we going to have a battle of the titans here between these two in Britain for both the sprint and feature race? Are we going to see a sluggish battle between the two over these next 11 laps and the 22 laps of the feature race?
Oh yeah, of course, but what I'm mostly surprised, our championship leader, Loose Spot, is all the way down in P7, not fighting for the lead like he usually does. That could be very worrying for him and the Torn team, who only has 1 driver racing today.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of pace they can bring out today. I believe Toots was driving in F1 earlier today, so he will be unable to drive in F2. Hawk, who we talked about previously on the fastest lap in down in P6, has worked his way up to P3 quite interestingly. So we'll see what he's able to do over this race weekend. Slight new driver we've seen driving for that starking red livery, but we'll see what kind of pace he can show us, impress us. He's right up there with JX Miriam fighting for that P4. The leaderboard says they're exactly on the same time at the moment, as you can see coming up on the left-hand side of your screen. Now, Hawk just taking the lead as they cross that line. And there's the red flag. Oh, round and round and round. Is that JX Miriam there? As the collisions are turned on for lap 3. That's so unfortunate. He's falling down and down and down. P5. I'm sure he's going to lose more positions than that. That's very unfortunate.
It's both the Evangelion cars that have been, I'd assume, collided with each other. They've dropped back a large amount.
Yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate for them. We'll see if they're able to recover on that at all. And every line guy, you talked about loose previously, whether it's through fortune of some of the drivers making mistakes and colliding, but he's now up to P3, 2 seconds behind the leader of Prime Drifter. Obviously, Prime Drifter taking that lead from Noah Gamer when the collisions was turned on. Noah's following closely behind those, 6/10 separating that front 2 gap. So it's all to play for over these next 8 laps.
Yeah. And definitely something that I just noticed, our top 4 in the Drivers' Championship are all in the top 4. Prime Drifter, the leader, is currently P3, about 29 points behind Love Majority, who is battling with Loose Spot in P4. So it's a very close spot. All 4 drivers on top of the Driver Championship are up there. Of course, Prime Drifter. But it seems like Noah will, after the sprint race, will take the Drivers' Championship if he's able to keep off Love. Of course, they are separated by 0.15 of a point, which is not a lot, to say the least.
Not a lot at all.
And another new driver that I've noticed is Officer Cap. He was recently in, I believe, IA, which is the FE Junior Series, which is GT cars.
Yeah,
now
so
he
interesting.
Now he's transitioned over to F2, driving for the new Lamborghini team. Of course, that is the new team now.
Yeah, we're seeing cross recruitment there between the junior series, so perhaps they've spotted some of the talent he's had potential there and moved him across to the F2 junior series, where I would argue is a little bit more competitive than the i8. See what you can do for that brand new Lamborghini team on the block. Let's cast our eyes back to the front of the grid now. Prime Drifter has maintained that lead and extended the gap quite significantly. The gap behind now is to Love My Geordie is 2.95 seconds. I believe Noah Gamer may have had a collision because he's down in P7 now, 7.3 seconds behind our leader.
Yeah, and it seems like another driver who's up is Fexland, who seems to have been making up some places from the start. Seems like most drivers have survived so far, but the other Advent team is not having as much luck as the other one, both owned by East Sliders, of course. They seem to be struggling a lot more than the main team. Of course, Lamborghini, which was the process of McLaren F2 turning into Lamborghini, I believe. And we are only seeing we are missing about 6 cars on the grid this weekend, as we should have 24. So it's very interesting to see where a few of those left. Of course, it seems like the one crate car is in P1 and the other one's down in P15. That won't be happy for Greg, of course. It seems like the majority and Loose Spot seem to be closing on each other. Fex then seems to be closing in on Officer Cap. It seems like there will be a very good battle between Love Majority and Loose Spot eventually. Of course, they will need to make sure these moves are good. As Love Majority pits! Is he going for a 2-1 stop? That is a new strategy that we haven't seen in a few races. Of course, Loose Spot pitting in the sprint race, doing it and winning it. As it seems like both Advance pit, actually. That is very concerning. Let's see how far it'll drop back. I don't know if that was the best strategy of them.
Now 6 laps into this 11 lap race then, not long to go, over halfway. We'll see what the drivers are able to do. The current top 3 is Prime Drifter, 3.3 seconds behind is Loose driving that, Loose Spot driving that Toronto GP, and Officer Cap, as we spoke about earlier, driving that Lamborghini vehicle. He's 4.8 seconds, so just under 5 seconds behind our leader, who also holds the fastest lap for this sprint race so far. We'll see what he's able to do to that gap, whether Loose Spot is able to bring it down, or whether he's able to maintain it. Fexalan and Boat Crafter are just behind them in P4 and P6. P6. Just as I say that, Hawk now is joining in on this party. He's made positions up from Big 24 homie down in P7. The gap between Hawk and Prime Drifter is 11.6 seconds. So we'll also see if he's able to reduce that gap at all as Prime Drifter enters the 7th lap of this race now.
Yeah. That's very interesting, as Love My Geordie's trying to make his way up the field as he's passing a Brandstar on a special livery, it seems like. Brandstar rebrand, or is that a special livery? I think we're going to need some confirmation, but it seems like they are.
Trying to take a look. I think that's going to be a special livery for the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, we definitely want to share that, but
it
seems like Love My Geordie has already made back a few places. Of course, he did pit. He has 4 laps to gain 19 seconds on Prime. I think the advanced strategy to apartment made the wrong call here, as it seems like it will let Loose Spot and Officer Cap get into the points. This could have been a interesting strategy. Of course, Advent is really on their own, being about 100 points ahead of second place in the Drivers' Championship. So,
yeah, well, I mean, we've seen on a few previous Grand Prix Advent team just having so much potential in their drivers. Quite often, it's just not quite getting that strategy right. So I wonder if that's the element.
Sorry for interrupting you there, but it seems like Love Majority, our championship leader, has spun. Now he's fighting his teammate. But of course they are fighting for P11, so it won't matter unless...
Apologies. That's really not going to cost him time if he's trying to catch up on Prime Drifter, only going to not help his cause now. Currently on lap 8. Surely, I mean, unless there's a miracle which has occurred, he's not even going to catch up to Prime Drifter. I mean, it may even be a little bit of a challenge to gain significant points here for Love My Jordy. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, of course. He is the championship leader, fighting his teammate who's only about a second ahead of him. Of course, I don't believe 10 gets points, correct? Or is it top 10?
Yeah, there are less drivers which get points in the sprint. It's 2-8.
Oh, as it seems like a Brandstar spins again. It's both Brandstars having issues now, causing them to lose places, though. They're both in the points now. As it seems like on the other side, it seemed like I believe that was a Lamborghini having issues. Might have been Rap God.
Looking at Noah Gamer, I just took a glimpse of what was happening on the straight, and these drivers are moving everywhere on the straight just to try and give their opponents a less ideal line and try and prevent the slipstream advantage. So
Noah Gamer also has the tire advantage, that's why he's trying to get past all these guys. As he did pit from, I believe, P2.
Yes.
As he seems to be getting too far from one. Ooh. As the other advent doesn't seem to be letting him past. Of course, East, who probably wants to prioritize his main team here, should try and talk to that other advent to let him pass, but let's see what happens here. Yep, it seems like Noah has got past a few cars. Both of them have Love My Jordy and Noah both fighting now for P7. So that battle's going to happen, as it seems like they're getting the Audi all out of proportions there. As it seems like they might be able to go around the upside by Love My Jordy as they both get through here. Will there be a teammate crash? Will we have a breaking point between the two teammates of where they crash into each other? This is some major points in the championship here as they seem to be going for a move. It seems like Love My Jordy has got past though. So see if Noah has a better line going into the corner. Of course he has the outside line. As it seems like Love My Jordy runs a bit wide going into the turn. Seems like Love My Jordy will get past here. And as he is the championship leader, that could be a team order. Or they could be fighting for positions. I doubt it's a team order based on these drivers probably want every point they need. As slipstream here is going to be very important for these cars. As it seems like Noah's already catching up a lot going through that one corner. As it seems like about 4 seconds behind Hawk, which would be the next car up the road for them.
The drivers wanting points is not the justification I would use for the overtake on Noah Gamer not being, of course, a team order. Is when I spoke to the owner of the team, Eastsliders, a while ago, they said that they were there to race and not to just bathe in luck and hope that one of their drivers can do well. They want both of their drivers to do well, and they will refuse to use team orders at all costs.
Yeah, well, both their drivers are leading the championship, so, and the team's championship, separated by 1.5 points, so most likely, even if there's a team order, I don't see them listening to it that well. But I still think it might have been the wrong call to pit them in, as it seems like Prime Drifter will get the win here, but Hawkbase, the other advan, in the junior advan, as I like to call it, is having issues, as he could have forced Love My Jordy off the road. Let's see if there'll be true fighting here. It seems like Love My Jordy's going to get past. What about Noah? As it seems like Noah should get past on the straight here. Of course, he doesn't want to lose too much time to his teammate.
Antelol does not seem... Sorry.
Nope, go.
Antelol does not seem to be having a good season. He's currently last out of everybody in this, well, in the series right now, and he's not had good results at any of the races that I can recall.
Yeah.
I don't remember Antelol having a good result, so he's just fallen back, and it's really unfortunate for the driver as he goes wide over the bumps at the exit of turn 6, I believe that is.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for him and his team. Let's cast our eyes back to the front of the grid then. Prime Drifter still holds on to this lead. Not by as much though. Loose Spot only 3.8 seconds behind. Still quite a significant gap to be fair, as we are on the last lap. Obviously Cap follows the front pack by 5.2 seconds, followed by Fexalan, who is 7.6 seconds behind Prime Drifter up ahead as he navigates himself through those corners onto that back straight. We'll see how much time Loose Spot's able to make on this last lap. I doubt it'll be anything significant though to affect Prime just maximum points that he would take away from this sprint race.
I just noticed something out of the commentary box. I just saw a Brainstar going backwards in the pit lane and then heading into a box. No idea what happened there. Could have had an issue. But of course we're focusing on Prime Drifter here, who should be able to take the race win if he can keep it all okay here as he rounds the final corner. Sees the check of the flags and crosses the line to win the race and does a donut.
I wouldn't be surprised if that Brandstar driver has been caught out by the pit limiter, which does tend to sort of bin your rear tyres when you go into the corner, so that's likely what's gone on there.
Seems like the drivers now playing bowling pins with each other, as it seems like the majority and Noah, the only drivers to pit, finishing 6th, 7th, and Boa Crafter finishing P8.
It's almost tradition at this point for there to be a huge pile up at the end of the race, especially the sprint race.
Yeah, seems like these drivers don't understand that you're supposed to keep the cars intact for the next race.
Fortunately, there is no damage.
Yeah,
definitely appears like the no pit stop strategy was the more effective one there. 3 drivers who did pit, the majority Noah Game and Boa Crafter, all being less successful in P6, 7, 8 in comparison to those the likes of the top 3, Prime just a Loose Spot and obviously Cap, all of which you know, extending that stint for the entirety of the sprint race, the most common strategy which we've seen, and the classic proved to pay off here.
Now, something that we didn't get a touch on during the race is the drivers have a new steering wheel that was also introduced in F1 this weekend. This wheel is more detailed and allows for a better perspective, along with having shifters on the back. This is more detailed for the teams, just to have. And it seems like the Brainstar livery, as I get a better look at it here in the pit lane, has a Janetta sponsor and Boost Mobile. So I suspect if we could get an interview with Shale, we could understand what's going on there, but I believe he already has left the paddock after Brainstar got one earlier today. It's very good for him and Dake on his return. Of course,
yeah, we'll see if we can try and get a word at some stage. Not quite sure if we will. The directors attempt to reset the leaderboards set up for this longer feature race. For those of you unaware of the structure, the feature race is the second race of the weekend, being double the length. And much more points available to the drivers. Instead of the top 8 now getting points, we have the top 10 getting points. However, we are implementing the reverse grid system, meaning that that top bunch will be reversed in positions.
Yeah, and something I just noticed, Lamborghini scored their first podium and first points during the race today. Of course, Officer Cap getting P3 in the sprint race. That's going to be good for their operations. Already more points than McLaren had the whole season, which Lamborghini was before.
I think that's probably one of the best debuts you can ask for. Podium on your debut. I can't even think of
well, he won an X-Bout, won an I8 on his debut, so it seems like Officer Cap has really good debuts, to say the least.
Yeah, I can't think of a driver that has actually got a podium on their debut unless it's a new series. So
yeah, possibly Dakar, but that was in season 1. I don't know though. It's possible, but in recent times, nobody, of course. So a very good race from Officer Cap. Of course, he now being series restricted to series restricted half 2.
So Officer, the driver who came from BMW i8 series, the feeder series for Formula E, has now found themselves in the feeder series for Formula 1. So wide aspirations for this driver? Quite potentially.
Yeah, and it's looked like on driver on pole would be Big 224 Homie. He got P10 in the race, of course, with first grid top 10. So that is a very good position for both of the Advent cars. Of course, Lotus also up there, or Fleet, what they call it, and then you have Porsche. Porsche, who have not had that good success in recent times, but seem to be starting P3. Let's see if they can keep it, though.
Yeah, and make sure to let us know in the chat who you are supporting, whether that may be a driver or a specific team. Weekend, who do you think is going to be able to take the win now of this feature race, which we have set ahead of us?
As it seems like we're waiting for one driver, British Aviator, the race director says. Of course, we've had a few of them so far, it seems. Okay, as it seems like we're going to be watching the light this time. As every light is on and we're waiting for them to go out, longer wait time. And they're out now. As both drivers get off, seems like Big 2 Homie had 24 Homie had a really good start there. Seems to be in the lead, but Hawkbase seems to be pressuring him. The driver that came from GT3 seems to be already up into the lead of F2, based on what it looks like on my screen. But of course, we'll see once we cross the timeline. It seems like Noah Gamer is also up there. Of course, he's fighting for the championship. Most of these other drivers have already been down for the count already.
Yeah, one of those key things we are going to be looking for through this first few laps of this feature race is how quickly those top drivers can get back to the front. And as I say that, Noah Gamer is already making massive strides out front. He's on a purple sector 1. Driver behind him, obviously being Big 24, is 1/10 behind. So we'll see if he's able to improve that gap anymore.
Yeah.
Prime just make it.
Who's that going over the bumps? That's Big 24 Homie going over the bumps at turn 6. That might be turn 5 actually. But yeah, that's cost him a lot. He's gone from
it seems like Prime's already back up into the lead on my screen. So Prime has gained 6 positions in the span of 2 sectors. Of course, our race winner from from the sprint race. So we'll see. Of course, this is a race, so it's longer.
That's incredibly momentous. He's lucky because he will not have to worry about those collisions coming on at lap 3. No collisions being featured throughout this feature race.
As I say that, he's fallen all the way down to P8. Something must have happened, as it's Noah and Love Majority in P1 and P2, and Bella Craft, who started P3 but didn't have the best of luck in the sprint race, is now P3 again after the second lap, after the first lap, sorry. But it seems like Noah Gamer is already controlling the pace. Most likely, if he wins this, he'll take the championship from his teammate. Of course, this is round 5, so we have about 5 more rounds to go after this. A lot of points still available to take. And at the rate of some teams needing F1 drivers and GT3 drivers, it could be possible few of these drivers do get drafted up to their larger team counterparts in the future.
Yeah, and it may even be not necessarily the counterpart, but a F1 team after, they look down to these junior series such as F2 for their next talent to help them win the championship, or, be successful, whichever way you pin that. Let's look back at our leaderboard now. Great battle going out on front, by the looks of it. Between quite a few drivers, actually. Boat Crafter's up there in the mix, Noah Gamer, Love My Geordie, and JX Miriam, and in fact Prime Drifter, all 3 of them within 1 second of each other. It's a great little battle that's staging up there as they cross the line to enter that 3rd lap now, out of 22. We'll see who comes out top of this first few corners. Looks like visually Bert Crafter is in front. The leaderboard says Bert Crafter is in front. Noah Gamer trailing by 0.25 seconds. JX Miriam following by 7/10, and Love My Geordie just 0.03 of a second behind him as they round themselves through that final corner onto the back straight. Boat Crafter looks to be leading. We'll see when they cross the timer board if there have been any changes. How close is Noah Gamer to him? Aircraft doesn't seem to be swerving to break that slipstream at all, and he looks to be getting a better exit from that corner as well. That's great driving he's making there. Marginally improves the gap to Noah Gamer behind him. That's up to just under 3 tenths. Prime Drifter 6 tenths behind Boat Crafter out in front as they ran themselves onto this second long straight. Boat Crafter still maintaining that lead. Really precise driving he's maintaining there. We'll see how precise and consistent it is though.
Yeah, so it seems like he definitely is very consistent, and of course he is leading the race now, so. But we will see pit stops at around lap 11 or so, if teams don't go for a second pit stop earlier on, but highly unlikely based on how we saw it went in the first race. Seems like Prime Drift is up to P2, is tied for P2 with Noah Gamer, though that's a very close battle, about 5 tenths off the Boa Crafter, who is leading the race and it seems to be controlling the pace here. Of course, he is not in dirty air unlike the rest of the drivers, but the circuit is a lot more straight, so he'll be giving them more of the benefit of slipstream. Yes, it seems to be riding down the straight, and they're all very close again. Prime Drifter. We'll see as we cross the timing line. It's Boa Crafter leading by a tenth to Prime Drifter, to Noah Gamer, and our top 5 are all within 5 tenths of a second, which is crazy to think that we are on lap 4, and there is such a close battle for the lead. As it seems like Boa Crafter is still continuing to hold the lead here. We'll see what it seems like as we go in, but it seems like there's such a close battle. So many drivers. There's a tie for 4th as we cross the timing line. We just crossed the timing line. It seems like Boa Crafter is still in the lead, but we'll see what happens as Love Majority and JXST are tied for 4th, and it just seems like, just to Antelope's dismay and Broman, they are both retired from the race. This is horrible for the season. But focusing on the lead battle, it seems like Prime Drifter could have caught back into the lead now, but we'll see once they cross the timing line here who is actually in the lead. And focusing back on, we have a big battle between Hawk and Loose Spot for P6. Of course, they are trailing from the lead pack about a second and a half back. But we'll see as we cross the timing line. It seems like we have a slipstream train here that our top 5 is within 0.33 of a second. That is mad how close these races is when we're closing the timing line, as it seems like our race 1 leader Prime Drifter is in P1 now. Of course, these positions will change a lot. Seems like as we'll go over the next timing line, we'll see where everyone is, but it will be very close as we head on to the next turn. Seems like Prime Drifter got the worst exit out of there, but of course the only one with a second teammate in this battle, and one of the few drivers with a second teammate in the race, is Noah Love Majority for Advan. They'll be getting really good, strong team points, of course, leading the championship. But it's very good that they can get it. You know, it's possible they should be able to win it in a few races time. But the Drivers' Championship will probably go down to the last race. Seems like Prime Drifter is leading. No, Noah Game is leading, sorry. Then Prime Drifter, where it seems very close to everybody. Of course, Noah Gamer and Love Majority are the 2 championship leaders who are really close to each other. Of course, Prime Drifter in P3, and in P4 you have Loose Spot, who is currently fighting for P6, tied with Hawk on the next timing line, but they are about farther back from the main pack. Seems like there's a server freeze here. Oh, and it seems like everything's okay. And no, of course, F1 had a small issue today with the server crash, but looks like we should be good so far. It seems like there has been a timing error as we go over the timing line. Seems to be 8 drivers tied for first. I don't believe that's the case, based on what it looks like visually, but we'll see when we cross the next timing line. Unless somehow... No, yeah. Noah Gamer is barely edging out JXT Miriam for the lead. But it seems like the top 4 within 1/10 of each other, and the top 5 within 1.5, which is crazy. We'll definitely need to see what it looks like when we cross the next timing line, but it seems like Boa Crafter is in the... But it seems like JXT is now in the lead with Prime Drifter, and the gap between first and fifth, 4/10 now. Seems like Craig is leading, but who knows? As it seems like every time we go into a new slipstream zone, we have a new leader. Of course, we should be seeing pit stops around lap 11, which will be very interesting to see.
This reminded me of the Formula E race in Zurich, where it was just a huge slipstream train for the top 7, exactly. So, every time we go across the timing line, it's a different leader through just the virtue of slipstream. None of these drivers are actually making mistakes through these corners, and they're all on the same strategy, all on the same tyres, so very interesting to see these drivers battling like this.
A bit of time though. Loosebot is closing on him. Loosebot has slightly closed down on this main group, but as soon as he gets in the slipstream range, he should come back in. But we're seeing when the first round of pit stops happen, it should be around lap 11. Seems like Boacraft has lost a lot of time to the top 4 now. Seems to be under threat by Loosebot. It seems like there's going to be a big battle. Looseball catching up to Noah Game as Boacraft the pits. Seems to have had a lot of issues in the pits though. But Looseball has caught up to the main pack where Noah Game has fallen back. It seems like Love Majority has just retaken that F2 championship. But we'll see. As a very interesting, a lot of drivers do pit along with our podium sitter Officer Cap Boacrafter in Big 24 Homie, who was our leader at the beginning of the race. As it seems like now the gap has thinned out a bit compared to recently, but it seems like Loosebot has came back, but as we should start seeing a battle. Of course, Slipstream is within about a second of each other. We'll be seeing Slipstream, so it'll be very interesting to see where all the drivers are. As it seems like Noah has lost the main pack, which could be detrimental for his race here. But of course, he is also out of the dirty air, so it'll be allow him to conserve his tires a bit better, which is something that we hadn't considered. That every time the leader is in clean air, but it's probably very hard as they are so close to each other. As it seems like now it's just a battle with 3 drivers for the lead. It seems like JXT Miriam is in the lead now, but it seems like we should be seeing pit stops in 2 laps time. So we'll see what happens. At end of lap 11 or end of lap 10 we should see pit stops. I believe it'll be end of lap 11 though. As it seems like JST Moon has pulled out, but it seems like we should be seeing a good battle eventually if these guys can slip between each other. So it seems like Ben has stepped out of the commentary booth, seems to have had some issues, so it's just me and Power now. Of course, we are now on lap 10. Seeing all these drivers go.
So the man in P11 setting the purple second sector, Boat Crafter, moving up into P9, P10,
9, I believe. Yes,
P9. Yeah, P9.
Boat Crafter was in the lead for a decent bit. He pitted earlier, so he'll probably be going for the undercut here. But let's see how well the drivers would be, as he knew how powerful the Slipstream trains were. So I suspect he wants to get out of it and get out of range, but that could hurt him also.
It definitely will hurt him because, well, we all know how slingshots work in F1 if you've ever watched a Grand Prix where one driver will go ahead in the slipstream, then the other driver will get pulled. It just sort of... I don't know how the best way to explain it is, but these drivers will just pull each other along with the slipstream.
Yeah. So it should be very interesting to see what happens here. But it seems like if he's out in front enough, he won't have to deal with the slingshots, but I think they'll compromise him as it is about a 20-second, 21-second pit lane.
It might just be a little longer considering the pit times, but I'd say about that. Powercrafter has now...
As we should see drivers starting to pit at the end of this lap, as we're just about half distance throughout the race.
The slipstream train seems to have broken just a little, but it still will be taking its effect on the drivers, most specifically the top three, all within 1.5 seconds of each other. Loose spot now trying to catch up to those top three drivers. Let's see the gap between them.
Yeah, my guess is something happened with tire wear in the dirty air. Of course, with dirty air, you're going to have worse tire wear. So I feel like they could have had a tire wear issue of where JXT was in the lead for so long, his tires are better. So we should be seeing them pit at the end of this lap, though. If they go any longer, they'll probably lose out to the undercut. But we'll need to see. And the slingshot train should be very important here.
So Borgcrafter now 14 seconds from the leader after only 2 laps of, I believe being 16 seconds behind the leader, is now 13.8.
Yes, as we see, and to interrupt you, JXT pits in now. Let's see if Prime Drifter follows him in. Yes, he does, as he seems like basically there's a flock in the pit lane now. Basically everyone is pitting, but Borgcrafter. But let's see where he's going to come out here. JXT is leaving his box now, and Borgcrafter is crossing the line. I believe he'll be in the lead, but the question is by how much as JXT leads the pit now.
So, join the discussion then. Who do you think is going to win the feature race? Sorry for cutting you off there, line guy. But I think it's quite important that we hear our viewers' opinions on who they think will win the feature race. Of course, it looks uncertain at the moment, Borgcrafter. The undercut has paid off for him here, so that might sway the opinion of some of the viewers, but Just Miriam has the tire advantage now on Borgcrafter, so they will be looking to fill in the gap that they have lost.
Yeah, but it seems like there's a huge gap in the pit lane. Now JXT is about 5 seconds behind. That's the power of the undercut here, of course. He did pit 2 laps earlier, I believe, at the end of lap 9 compared to the end of lap 11, so we have worse tires, but the slipstream train seems to have broken down. It's based on looking at those gaps. They are not close enough for each other to really be slipstreaming. But we'll definitely need to see, of course, with the big thing that we'll see is purple sectors popping up. As it seems like Loosebot and Noah both have set green sectors, but no purples yet. That is going to be very important for us to see.
Yeah, but Borgcrafter is still pulling away from Just Miriam, even though Just Miriam, no matter how slight that tire advantage is, it's still there. So I'm surprised that that gap has fallen that much as Prime Drifter sets the purple final sector. I assume that's because he's in the slipstream of Just Miriam, slightly ahead of him, 9/10 now, but that looks like it's closing. It's going through turn 4, turn 5 now. It's getting on board with Prime Drifter behind Just Miriam.
Yeah, it seems like Prime Drifter, of course, trying to get 2 wins in 2 races. Should be very interesting. Of course, Melodic doing that here last season, before being stripped of the wins due to him participating in FP3 and F1. That's Prime sets a purple first sector. That's going to be huge. If Prime is able to pull away from these guys and go chase after Boa, it'll be very good.
After turn 7, Prime was right behind Just Miriam, but has fallen back after sliding off at turn 8.
Yeah, but it seems like Slipstream should help him enough here. We'll see if somebody sets another purple sector.
Seems to have lost a ton of time in the second sector there. Even the smallest of mistakes
Love My
can
Jordy
cost
lost
you
a lot.
just over a second.
Sorry to say that, but Love My Jordy seems to have fallen back behind his teammate. That is interesting. Seems to have slowed down on the straight somehow. Could possibly be having some issues there. But it seems like, ooh, is that Rap got off on the side now, the track. Seems to have retired his car. That is bad for the Albanian racing driver in his return to Formula 2 racing. But it seems like the gap is closing down here as Buck still has the fastest lap, which is worth a point now. So it could be all his strategy to get the 1 point if he doesn't think he'll be able to get the race win anyway. But as long as he can hold them out for long enough, they might be able to get some points here. But it looks like Boa could be on for a very good result here, as it's only 1.7 separating him and the cars behind. This seems like Prime Drifter is closing down though on both of them. Prime Drifter is going to be the X tactic here of who can win this race. I suspect Boak should be able to, but it will be very interesting to see who will actually be our race winner here.
Prime Drifter has pulled ahead of Just Miriam and is now going to be on the back of Boak Crafter, looking to take that race win, but Just Miriam is not going to let that position go easily. That P2 position is heavily contested between these two drivers. Prime Drifter trying to take a slightly better line, but that seems to compromise his exit a little as Just Miriam gets the better exit, heading towards the final corner now. Let's see who.
Yeah, but it seems like they'll be in slipstream now, so the slipstream advantage would have just been annihilated. As it seems like Prime Drifter has got. No, they haven't, but it's very close. 3/100ths of a second is the gap, as it seems like Boa Crafter takes a horrible line there. Could Prime Drifter get both of them done by the end of the next straight? It's very possible. Prime Drifter seems to be going in to the corner very close to them, but it could all just be vision lag here, of course.
Just Miriam will have the double slipstream from both Boa Crafter and Prime Drifter, so Just Miriam could actually come out on top between these two drivers.
Yeah, but it seems like none of them are using the slipstream advantage to say. But we'll need to see at the next timing line. That should be at the end of the next back straight. So we'll see two slipstream zones where we should be able to see who is our faster driver. But it seems like whoever's in clean air will be faster through the twisty parts of the track. That is Sector 1 and the end of Sector 3.
Prime Drifter going very wide again at turn 8. This seems to be a recurring theme for Prime Drifter. He's going very wide, compromising himself, and then just gaining it all back on the straights, so that makes me wonder if he is relying on the straights to win him this race, and so far it does seem like he is doing that, so I mean, I'm not going to criticize
Boa
that.
Crafter is on mediums, everyone else is on hards. That is something we can pick up. Is it possible Boa Crafter is going for a 2-stop, you think? If he's on mediums? That could be why he holds the fastest lap, of course, but
I think it would be risky going for a 2-stop, especially considering the position he is. Prime Drifter goes very wide going out of turn 2 there. That's going to affect him greatly.
Yeah, but it seems like Prime might have just lost the slipstream there, so that could be huge. But it seems like JXT also has went wide going onto the straight there, compromising his whole entire run onto the straights. Prime, of course, having less of an issue. But it seems like Prime has closed down a bit, but of course, to within 6/10. But it seems like Boak has fallen back. And to note, Love My Jordy has lost a lot of places, falling all the way back to P7 now.
Just Miriam being very defensive on the straight, moving all the way to the right hand side of that straight. Heading on to our second DRS zone, of course no DRS in Formula 2. Although you would expect it to be in Formula 2. Enough about DRS. Prime Drifter is on the back of Just Miriam now, attacking Just Miriam, and seems to have got the better exit, going out of turn 10, I believe that is.
Yeah, but it seems like Prime Drifter will have dirty through here, so we'll probably lose a bit of time. But we'll need to say. Of course, this is not a track like France, where dirty is atrocious. But dirty is less here. Of course, there's a lot more high downforce corners that you need to watch out for. But very long straight.
I was wrong about that fleet car not doing a 2-stop. Boa Crafter has entered the pit lane. That's cost him greatly. He's all the way down in P9
For which tires does he
now, heading onto, I would assume, the soft tires. Surely you'd be on the soft tires.
see?
It's another set of mediums.
It's interesting.
Interesting.
You'll have very fresh medium, but can he get back 20, 19-ish seconds? That's going to be hard for him.
I doubt that he'll be able to bring back 20 seconds in just 5 laps.
But it seems like the serve is okay now. It seems like Prime Drift has retaken the lead while we've been focusing on Boak. As we're looking at Loose Spot here, fighting Noah Gamer. This is the battle for 3rd place. They are very close on the straight here, those two. But we'll need to see. Looks like Loose Spot has taken 3rd place, but it is close, to say the least. The gap being about 4/100th of a second. Battle for the last podium place in the last 5 laps could get very intense. Just a note on Boa Crafty is all the way down in P9. But it seems like Lewis Bar has lost out now. Of course, tire wear will start becoming an issue. A few laps, a car was conserving the tire wear and is now pushing. But of course, it seems like Prime Drift has been able to pull out the lead now. Also, seems like Noah and the Advent has now lost the lead, has now lost the podium. But for our last podium spot and a lot of championship points here, seems like Noah is slightly ahead, but no, looks like Loose Spot is, of course, Slipstream. Noah had a compromised exit, which would compromise him for a while into the next braking zone at the end of the straight here.
They are simply side by side, no leeway given by either drivers. We've got a battle for P1, we've got a battle for P3, and now we have a battle for P5 between Faxel and Hawkbase and Love My Geordie at the back of them. Geordie also seems to be the one losing the most time. I would assume that is due to the double dirty air he's getting from 2 cars in front of him, and I'm sure the distant dirty air from Noah Gamer and Loose Spot's cars, respectively.
Yeah, but it seems like Fexland is holding on in the remaining, I believe he's the only Vexala in the race. Of course, Fex trying to hold on for his first top 5 finish. But let's see, as we cross the line, they'll have 3 laps to go to see who can hold off the longest.
Geordie seems to be sitting back a little, waiting for either of those drivers to make a mistake, costing them a lot, but he is gaining on them through the corners. So I'm wondering if Geordie is running a slightly more corner-orientated car as driving, or his way of driving this track is just more suited to the corners. As I say that, as he gets really sideways, going out of turn 5, if I'm not mistaken. There cost him quite a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, but it seems like Faxlin is still holding on, but we'll need to say, of course, Faxlin is holding on for the first top 5 finish, as we already said. But it seems like Prime Drift in the lead has pulled away from JXT, so it seems like Prime should bring that home. So the fight will be for the final podium spot in for 5th place. As looking ahead on the road, it seems like Noah and Loose Spot are still fighting for the final podium.
Yep, the spark of fight has not left Noah Gamer taking the position from Loose Spot, so I'm sure Loose Spot will be on the attacking side now. This might just be a back and forth battle until the end of the race.
Yeah, so it seems like there's 3 major battles going on track here. It seems to be the battle for 3rd place, the battle for 5th, and the battle for 11th, I believe, between Incognito and Jockey was going on. But it seems like that has turned down. But Boa Crafter, the driver who pit, has not gained as much time as he probably would have hoped. Seems to have lost a lot of time, but it seems like if he stood in his position, he would still probably be in P3 or P2 or stuck on those hard compound tires.
Prime Drifter is taking all of the track he possibly can, going off it in some places. I'm not sure if the race director might have something to say about that. They're straying far from just the white lines that mark the edges of the track. They're going all the way off it into the red area. Yeah, perfect opportunity to see that in action. Prime Drifter taking all of that red runoff, using it to his advantage. I'm not sure how Just Miriam will be feeling about the advantage that Prime Drifter is gaining, but
yeah, but
I think
Just Miriam has closed down a lot as they're heading on to the penultimate lap there shortly.
I think we might start seeing a Bahrain situation where Just Miriam might have to start copying Prime Drifter, going very far off the track just to try and keep up with his times. Yep, I think that's the first example of it there, going off at turn 2. Let's see what happens through turn 3. Yeah, both of them taking as much of the track as they physically can, but Prime Drifter still going very adventurous to the track limits.
Oh my god, and it seems like he is weaving a lot on the track, of course. Trying to keep JX Team Miriam out of his slipstream, but it seems to not have helped a lot, as he is within 5/10, so they both get a very compromised line out of that corner. But he needs all that slipstream he can get.
Listening to the tone of Just Miriam's engine, Miriam got a bunch of slips, a bunch of wheel spin coming out of the previous corners. You could hear it sliding, and revs were just higher than you would expect at that situation.
Yeah, and as we saw that on Prime Drifter's view, we saw the Brent Star that was stuck on track while the department now absolutely tired from the race. Seems to have disconnected. Seems to have his race be over now.
Yeah, Just Miriam has started to copy the lines that Prime Drifter is taking, the rather adventurous lines, I must say so myself. And no, that's ridiculous. He's gone that far off the track, going through the braking boards. I'm sure that surely cannot be legal. Sorry.
Yeah, of course, as we are on the final lap now, we should be seeing, as it seems like Bulletcrafter has made its way up all the way up to P7, but it seems like Noah and Loosebot will be defending, so once we finish this, it seems like JXT has lost the slipstream now on Prime, so that'll be a big thing here, unless both the exits got compromised.
So it seems rather comfortable for Prime Drifter now for the rest of the circuit. Doesn't seem too stressful from his perspective, but let's go to Loosebot and Noah Gamer. Those are 2 temps separating them side by side going into the final corners of the lap.
Yeah, it seems like this is going to be a huge finish, as we're just waiting to see, yeah, the gap between Prime and them. And it also looks like Fex, the car behind, if he was fighting for 5th, has dropped those guys, so our last big battle on track is going to be for this last podium spot. Of course, him not slipstreaming here, that could be a true mistake by him. Prime Drifter is about to finish the lap there shortly, winning his 2nd race of the day. As we should be seeing Prime Drifter, as we look at him, taking the most adventurous line that we've seen all day here. To cross the line, the checkered flag is out. Prime Drifter wins in the British feature race. But as we look back on Loosebot seems to have held back Noah Gamer here. And what has happened? Excellent seems to have lost a bunch of places. He's in 5th place about a few minutes ago. And then a second ago he's lost 2 places to Bulletcraft and making his way up to P5. So it seems like after this race, it seems like we're just waiting for the last 3 cars to finish. Incognito, the other Prix.
Incognito somehow managed to break the car after finishing the race. The front left tire is floating in the air. That's not normal.
Yep. So it seems like that should be the end of the race here. So your podium will be Prime Drifter, Just Miriam, who held on to P2 for the Advent team, and then just to get this correct. Just to get the standings correct, you have Evangelion Advan in P2, Quake in P1, and in P3 you have Torn for Loosebot. Of course, the championship should be very interesting now. Prime Drifter was only about Prime Drift was about 22 points behind the lead. No, 30 points behind the leaders, but I don't know how I'll look up. We'll have to see in the coming days what the championship has schemed into, as our drivers seem to be heading to the podium. And we should be getting a view of our podium shortly. We should get a view of our podium shortly. As we have Loose Spot in 3rd place. In 2nd place, we have JXT Miriam. And then your winner of the British Grand Prix feature race is Prime Drifter for the Prix team with his engineer Seppa. Congratulations to all the teams here. They seem to have a very good weekend, especially the Prix team winning both races in Prime. So it should be very interesting going through the rest of the season here, seeing who wins the championships. Of course, tops off today's action, of course, the F1 race before that, Dakar won and got Poland, and then this. So it's been a very good weekend for all the drivers who have been on the podium. Of course, we can check back more action tomorrow, where we'll be seeing that GT3 and X-Bow races that should be happening tomorrow, and we'd like to thank all our members for being members of the channel. You guys are what helps media do all its great things that we do every day, and helps the streams become better. And of course, new member content should be coming out very shortly, hopefully.
And you can join the group of members, the join button next to the subscribe button, which you should also do to be notified whenever the highlights come out for our next races. F1 should be coming out very soon. The F1 highlights should be coming out very soon. But you should, as a member, get should get early access to those clips and whatnot. So until then, well, join members, subscribe, and yeah, have a good day.